Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. The sky above Earth was clear, the calm before the storm. At first, it had seemed like any other day. Citizens went about their lives unaware of the approaching disaster, but it didn't take long before that peace was shattered. The sudden blackout of communication satellites sent ripples of confusion and fear across the globe. Within minutes, governments scrambled to make sense of the situation as unidentified objects were detected entering Earth's atmosphere. Marcus Hale, commander of Earth's elite defense force, known simply as the Avengers, stood in the Situation Room, eyes fixed on the flickering display. His jaw tightened as reports flooded in from across the globe. Major cities were being targeted. These weren't meteors or space debris. They were ships, and they were descending fast. "Commander," a young officer called out, voice shaking. "We've lost contact with Los Angeles." Marcus didn't respond right away. His focus zeroed in on the incoming visuals. Sleek, angular crafts unlike anything Earth had seen before were descending from the sky, causing chaos wherever they landed. One thing was clear: this was an invasion. "Activate the defense systems," Marcus ordered, his voice a deep rumble of authority. "Mobilize all units. We're going to show them we aren't easy prey." Within moments, the Avengers, Earth's most advanced military unit, were deployed. Fighter jets took to the skies, and ground forces engaged as best they could. But the enemy was far more advanced. The alien ships moved with precision, their energy weapons cutting through Earth's defenses like paper. As the invasion spread across the globe, Marcus watched helplessly. His team fought valiantly, but the alien technology was too powerful. These invaders were unlike anything they had prepared for. Still, he wasn't one to back down. Earth would fight to the end. Hours passed, and the battlefield was littered with the remains of Earth's defenses. But a flicker of hope emerged when one of the alien soldiers was captured alive. The Raider, a wounded creature clad in unfamiliar armor, lay restrained in the interrogation room of the Avengers headquarters. Marcus stood before the alien, flanked by his second-in-command, Sarah Cole. The alien's skin was a pale, sickly blue, its eyes dark and sunken. Marcus had expected a ruthless enemy, but what he saw instead was a being barely clinging to life. The creature's breathing was labored, and its eyes flickered with desperation, not hatred. "We need answers," Marcus said sternly, staring down at the alien. "Why are you here? What do you want from us?" The alien coughed weakly, its voice a rasp that echoed through the room. "We are the Galder," it began, speaking through a translator. "Our world is dying. We had no choice." "No choice?" Sarah snapped, anger flashing in her eyes. "You invade our planet, kill our people, and now you claim you had no choice?" The alien's gaze met hers, and for a moment, there was silence. "We do not wish for war," it said quietly. "But our home is collapsing. We need resources." "Your world, it is rich in what we need." Marcus frowned, absorbing the alien's words. It didn't seem to be lying. In fact, there was a deep sadness in its voice. He turned to Sarah, who shook her head in disbelief. "You're saying your people are doing this to survive?" Marcus asked, his voice softening. The alien nodded. "We are scavengers, forced to take from others to keep our world alive. We have lost much, too much." The weight of the alien's words settled over Marcus like a lead blanket. This wasn't a simple case of good versus evil. These invaders weren't monsters, they were desperate. And that made things far more complicated. The Avengers gathered in the war room to discuss what they had learned. The mood was tense. Sarah stood with her arms crossed, her face set in a hard frown, while the rest of the team watched Marcus expectantly. The information the alien had given them left them all grappling with a difficult reality. "This changes things," Marcus began, addressing the room. "We're not just fighting an enemy looking to conquer us for sport or power. These raiders are fighting for survival. Their world is dying." Sarah shook her head in disbelief. "So what? Are we supposed to let them strip our planet to save their own? What happens to us then?" "I'm not saying that," Marcus replied, his tone measured. "But we need to think about what we're dealing with. We're fighting against a species that doesn't want to kill us. They have to. If we push them to extinction, what does that make us?" Sarah narrowed her eyes. "Survivors, Marcus." "It makes us survivors." The room fell silent. Marcus could feel the tension in the air, the uncertainty of his team. This wasn't the battle they had expected. This was something far more complicated. He knew the truth that if they continued to fight like this, it would end in tragedy for both sides. "We have to find another way," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of the decision. "We're going to propose a ceasefire." The Avengers approached the aliens with a proposal for a temporary ceasefire, hoping to buy time to find a solution that could benefit both sides. The idea was risky, but Marcus believed it was their only chance to avoid annihilation. With great caution, they arranged a meeting with the leader of the Raiders, High Commander Zelter. The meeting took place aboard the alien mothership, a colossal structure that loomed over Earth like a dark shadow. Marcus and a small team of diplomats boarded the alien craft, their hearts heavy with uncertainty. Inside, they were met by Zelter, a tall, imposing figure whose presence commanded respect. His skin shimmered with a silvery hue, and his eyes were a piercing shade of violet. He regarded the humans with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "Commander Hale," Zelter said, his voice resonating through the chamber. "You wish to discuss terms." Marcus stepped forward, meeting the alien leader's gaze. "We know why you're here. We understand that your people are fighting for survival, but so are we. There has to be a better way than this." Zelter's expression was unreadable. "Your planet has what we need. Without your resources, my people will die. And if you take them by force, Earth will be left in ruins." Marcus countered. "We're offering a different path. We have technology and renewable energy systems that could help you stabilize your planet's environment. If you agree to stop the attack, we'll share this technology with you." Zelter's eyes narrowed. "You expect me to trust you?" Marcus nodded. "I'm asking you to trust that we both want the same thing as survival." The silence stretched on, tension thick in the air. Finally, Zelter spoke. "I will consider your offer. But know this, Commander, my people are desperate. If this is a trick, we will destroy your world." The ceasefire was tenuous, but it held. For the first time since the invasion began, there was a glimmer of hope. Yet, not everyone was convinced that peace was the right path. Both on Earth and among the alien ranks, dissent brewed. On the alien side, a faction led by General Vox rejected the ceasefire. Vox was a hardened warrior, scarred by years of loss. He believed that the only way to secure his people's future was through complete domination of Earth. He had no patience for diplomacy or compromise. In secret, Vox began to plot a coup. He gathered followers of those who shared his belief that the humans could not be trusted. Their plan was simple: reignite the war by staging an attack on one of Earth's major cities. If they could break the ceasefire, the raiders would be forced to resume their assault, and any chance of peace would be lost. As General Vox's plan unfolded, tensions rose on both sides. Earth's leaders, growing wary of the fragile ceasefire, started to question the Avengers' approach. Meanwhile, Marcus Hale remained committed to finding a peaceful solution, though he could sense the unrest even within his own ranks. The Avengers, especially Lieutenant Sarah Cole, were torn. Sarah had been vocal about her distrust of the aliens from the start. To her, the ceasefire was a ticking time bomb. One wrong move and Earth would be annihilated. She wasn't alone in her fears. Many soldiers whispered that Marcus was too soft, that Earth's survival was at risk because of his willingness to negotiate. Then, the worst happened. General Vox, with his loyalists, launched an attack on New York City. Explosions rocked the city's skyline, sending civilians fleeing in terror. The Avengers, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. It was chaos. Buildings toppled, fires raged, and panic spread like wildfire. Marcus watched the destruction from the Avengers' headquarters, his heart sinking. This was exactly what he'd feared. "This is it," Sarah said, storming into the command center, her face flushed with anger. "They're showing their true colors. We need to retaliate, now." Marcus hesitated, staring at the screens showing the devastation in New York. He couldn't deny the anger building inside him, but he also knew this attack wasn't sanctioned by Zelter. It was a rogue faction trying to sabotage the peace talks. If they retaliated now, the ceasefire would collapse, and Earth would be thrust back into a full-scale war. "Not yet," Marcus said, his voice strained. "We need to confirm this wasn't authorized by Zelter." "Confirm?" Sarah shot back, her fists clenched. "How many more cities need to burn before you realize we can't trust them?" Marcus met her gaze, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. "I'm not willing to sacrifice peace for revenge." "Not yet." While the Avengers worked to contain the destruction in New York, Marcus reached out to Zelter. The alien commander was furious when he learned of Vox's betrayal. Zelter immediately offered to assist the Avengers in taking down Vox's faction, but Marcus knew the situation was far more delicate than that. "Your people are responsible for this," Marcus said, his voice tight over the communication link. "We need more than your assistance. We need to end this threat, once and for all." Zelter agreed. Vox's actions endangered not just the ceasefire but the survival of his entire species. If the humans retaliated, the delicate negotiations would shatter. Together, Marcus and Zelter devised a plan to take down Vox before his rebellion could spread further. As Marcus prepared his team for the mission, he felt the weight of every decision pressing on him. This wasn't just about taking down Vox, it was about saving both Earth and Galder. The plan was simple, but execution would be dangerous. The Avengers would infiltrate Vox's stronghold with the help of Zelter's loyalists, eliminate the rogue general, and restore order before more damage could be done. Sarah, though still skeptical, stood by Marcus's side as they briefed the team. She was a soldier through and through, and despite her doubts, she trusted Marcus's leadership. "You know this is a risk," Sarah said as they suited up. "If this fails, we might not get another chance." "I know," Marcus replied, "but we have to try." They moved quickly, slipping into the night under the cover of darkness. With Zelter's loyal forces providing intelligence, the Avengers infiltrated Vox's base, hidden deep in the mountains. The tension was palpable as they navigated the narrow corridors, knowing that any wrong step could lead to their discovery and the end of the ceasefire. As they reached the central command chamber, they found Vox standing before his loyal soldiers, preparing to launch another assault on Earth. His eyes burned with fanaticism, his voice echoing through the chamber as he rallied his forces. "We will not be slaves to these humans," Vox shouted, raising his fist. "We will take what is ours, by any means necessary." Marcus and Sarah exchanged a glance. This was it. With one last nod, they charged into the chamber, guns blazing. The element of surprise worked in their favor, and they quickly overpowered Vox's guards. Chaos erupted as Vox's forces scattered, unprepared for the sudden attack. Vox, however, was no easy target. He fought with the ferocity of a cornered animal, his alien strength and combat skills making him a formidable opponent. But Marcus had faced worse in his career. With precision and determination, he pressed forward, battling through Vox's defenses until they were locked in hand-to-hand combat. "Your kind is weak," Vox sneered, grappling with Marcus. "You don't have the stomach for this war." Marcus didn't respond with words. Instead, he focused on the fight. Every punch, every block, every maneuver calculated to bring down his opponent. The fight was brutal, but in the end, Marcus's training and resolve won out. With a final, crushing blow, he incapacitated Vox, leaving the rogue general unconscious on the floor. With Vox defeated, His rebellion quickly fell apart. The loyalists within the alien ranks were able to restore order, and the threat of a full-scale war was averted. But the battle had taken its toll on everyone involved. As the Avengers regrouped, Marcus felt a deep weariness settle over him. The destruction in New York, the loss of Lifea, it was a heavy burden to bear. Back at Avengers headquarters, Marcus and Zeltra sat down to finalize the peace agreement. It wasn't an easy process. Both sides had suffered, and trust would take time to build. But there was hope. The renewable energy technology from Earth would be shared with the aliens, and in return, the Cosmic Raiders would help Earth rebuild what had been lost. "We have a long road ahead," Zeltra said, his voice solemn. "But perhaps we can learn to coexist." "I hope so," Marcus replied. "For both our sakes." The world began to heal, slowly but surely. Marcus watched as Earth's cities were rebuilt, knowing that it would take time for the scars of war to fade. But he also knew that they had avoided something far worse, a conflict that could have destroyed them all. As for Galder, the alien world began to stabilize, thanks to the shared technology. The partnership between Earth and the Galdorans was fragile, but it held. Marcus had seen the worst that war could bring, but he had also seen the potential for peace, even in the most unlikely of circumstances. He stood on the balcony of Avengers headquarters, looking out at the horizon. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, he felt a glimmer of hope. The path to survival didn't always have to be paved in blood. Sometimes, the hardest battles were the ones fought with compassion. The fight wasn't over. But for now, there was peace.